What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode here on the Architect Network podcast. Today, we're continuing the theme around YouTube, and we're getting in a very special guest because I haven't seen him do many podcasts before. We have got Gediminas Kurditas. He has an epic YouTube channel that has really grown over the years, where he does these kind of long format videos around the Unreal Game Engine, Grasshopper, rendering engines, all of these kind of things. It's really valuable content. If you haven't seen it before, go and check it out. But we're going to be talking to him about his journey on YouTube, how he got started with the channel, and also how the channel ties into some of the other things that he's doing. So he's also the co-founder of the Very Good Architecture Practice. Great name for an architecture practice. And he's also involved in teaching at Lund University in Sweden. So we're going to be talking to him about how all of these things are interconnected, his journey on YouTube, and we'll also get into things like AI, computational design, game engines, which is all the kind of things that he's an expert in. This episode is actually sponsored by the London Build Expo, which is happening this year, November 20th and the 21st here in London. You can get your free ticket there. It's one of the biggest AEC events here in the city, and it's completely free for you to attend. We will be hosting two events there. One, our infamous Petrikuchas on the future of housing, and two, a presentation or workshop with me talking about Facet Technologies, the startup which I'm involved in, where we are disrupting the home construction industry. So you can check it out in the link below and book your spot in that. Otherwise, let's jump into it. If you like this episode, give us a like and a subscribe. Share it with your friends and colleagues so we can spread this information. Otherwise, let's jump into it and have a chat with Gediminas. This video is brought to you by Architect Network and our online platform of courses where you can learn from world-class architects working in some of the practices that you can see in these videos. You can learn Grasshopper, Revit, Rhino Inside, Twinmotion, and some of our new courses on AI, and lots more courses that we're delivering over the next year. So please, if you like this video, check out our courses in the link below so we can keep bringing you more content like this. And that's it. We're live. Gediminas, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I think we were just saying, I was doing a bit of research on you. I've not seen you do many podcasts, so I think we're very privileged to have you here. I know we've been trying to work it out here and there. You've got a very busy schedule, and but we managed to make it happen.
Yeah, overlapping was a pretty tough thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Just when did we start? Like half a year ago or so?
Yeah.
Finally, we're here.
Yeah. It's definitely towards the start of the year. I think we started to talk about getting you on the podcast, but good things come to those that wait.
Oh yeah. I'm happy. I'm finally I'm here.
Yeah. Well, I've already done a bit of an introduction, but I usually just do my little bullet points in case anyone in the audience has not come across you already. But you have your own YouTube channel, which is just from your own name, Gediminas, and you've developed a pretty big following. I feel like you've grown a lot over the last few years. You've been teaching around all the architect stuff, right? You do a lot of, online courses and stuff like that. You've also got your own, you're co-founder of the Very Good Architecture Company, which I love the name. We'll definitely get into that. And you're also a course coordinator, lecturer at Lund University, right? Which is, for those who don't know, that's in Sweden, not far from Malmo, right?
Exactly.
I don't know if there's anything I missed that you want to add there, but
nope. Those are the three hats that I wear, and I guess the biggest one in terms of the time that I spend is these days the YouTube channel. Don't tell my Lund employees that, though. Employers that, though. But the YouTube part does take over quite a bit of my time. And as I mentioned before we started, my English will improve over time. I just need a little bit, to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. You're saying you've just come back from a bit of a summer break.
Exactly.
Which is
so didn't practice English whatsoever.
Yeah, no worries. It's definitely a theme, right? The kind of August, online break. I see a lot of YouTubers and on all these platforms just kind of go to bed in August. So
because the viewership just drops. It's just the lowest that it's through the whole year is the lowest. Right?
Yeah.
So everyone is just taking the August and the January, because January is when the ad revenue is low because all of the advertisements are done for the winter break.
Yeah, they've spent all the money. So there you go. The first few tips on anyone wanting to start a YouTube channel is don't do it in August.
Yeah, don't start in August. Start in September.
Maybe let's start with that. Like, we can maybe focus a little bit on the YouTube channel, but maybe describe how you got started with the YouTube channel and how does that kind of play into teaching at Lund, and then also your own architecture company, the Very Good Architecture Company. Like, how did this come about? When did you get started and why?
I guess, I hear the story a lot, and my story is no different. When I started working in Lund University, that was very straightforward. You come to work, you read your lectures or whatever, and you go home. And then the funny thing happened, COVID. Right? Suddenly everyone's locked in. And Sweden did not do the full lockdown, but we still couldn't go to university. So basically no large gatherings, and a class is a large gathering. So suddenly all of the teachers, they need to figure out how do we do this. And Zoom, of course, was one of the ways of how we do it. But then I figured that might as well start recording the videos, because it just seemed to be redundant to do this kind of technical training and all of these lectures over and over again. Just seemed that it would be a better time spent actually working with the students rather than repeating the same thing. So I started recording tutorials, and apparently tutorials were well received by the community. So I started recording more. And then outside of the scope, during the same period of time, we were creating this architecture company based in Lithuania. Very good architecture company. It's very good.
I love the name.
Thanks. There's a story behind it, of course, but we'll get to that. And then I started looking into how I can bring in some stuff that we do in that because for me that was very interesting, right? The stuff that we do with the clients, and how do clients behave, and how do we react to the behavior of the clients, right? So I created a small series of architecture from start to finish. Last episode is gonna come out next month, or next month. Right. So finally, the house, the experimental house for that whole series is finalized. Right. So basically, the YouTube channel was me trying to rope in everything that I do into one place and just showcase it in an educational way. Right. And just to clarify, there's 2 YouTube channels because later on I split it. So that the main one that has my name on it is education based, and another one, which is Gedan, Geddan, Gedan. The other one is basically project based, or stuff that I just like to tinker with, right? So it's still design oriented, but it's not necessarily to teach, aimed at teaching. But either way, that was the beginning of it, and ever since, I just kept uploading, kept seeing what kind of voids of knowledge needs to be filled, and once I find something that I want to address, either I need to learn about the thing and then I upload. So that usually takes like half a year, that kind of a video, or if I already know the thing, then I just hit record. Create a tutorial, upload, and people watch it. And that usually is like between a week and a month or so.
Yeah, which is quite good, because like you do quite long format courses. I also love your style, which is very conversational, in that like I've watched some of your Grasshopper ones, and it's exactly what is really good to teach, because you know, you may go down a road and it's like, actually, no, this doesn't work. Let's try this. Let's try that. And it's not kind of like, here's the perfect solution, A to B to C, which I think is what, you know, a lot of people really appreciate with your channel. But one thing I found really interesting with you is when I first started to think about ATN, I was trying to ask people like, do I just do these courses and put them online, right? And these like long format courses like Revit and Grasshopper, they take quite a long time. I just put it out there. A lot of people told me not to do that because YouTube is like 10-minute videos, and you know, people get distracted by all the suggestions and all this kind of stuff. But I think you've shown that model does work, and it actually works really well. People, you know, respond to it and appreciate your creating all this like really valuable content. Was that like a conscious thing, or did you just kind of like put it out there and see what happened?
Yeah, I mean, people enjoy live streaming, right? And the reason why they enjoy live streamers is because it's uncut, it's unfiltered, right? Whatever happens stays, you know, or exists, and it's not this kind of a purest form of material. I think the same thing has value in courses, tutorials, and so on. Getting a little bit of a glimpse into the mindset of the teacher or a person who's working on the thing, and actually seeing that they also make mistakes and figuring out or seeing how they figure out their way out of those mistakes. That is, I think, more valuable than just the factual information, because the factual information eventually is going to be replaced by AI either way, right? Yeah. What matters is much more is how you approach things and the mindset, and you know how you get inspired. For me, the most interesting thing when I watch other people do work is the self-perpetual machine, or whatever is called, a machine that goes by itself, of inspiration that those people have, and trying to just kind of break down of how the hell can you hammer your head against a problem until until you solve it, right? And usually it takes a long time. So in terms of long form content, I do think that it's super long form content. I think that it's definitely has a place. It has quite a few benefits. There is a lot of criticism, of course, that you get when you're uploading that, because there is always a type of a student or a viewer who prefers just the factual information, just bam, 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 TikTok format, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, anecdotally, the first long form content that I have uploaded, one of the courses that I have uploaded, received one very nasty comment from a guy. This could have been like a 15-minute video. This guy blabs too much, blah, blah, blah. And I was just sitting there and fuck you. From now on, every video is going to be 1 hour, maybe 2 hours. I'll prove you wrong. And this was like 3 years ago. And ever since, if a video is like below 1 hour, I'm a little bit angry at myself. I could have recorded a little bit more. So there's always two sides to that.
Yeah, I do. It's really interesting because I had been, as I got advice from different people in the YouTube world, it was like never above 10 minutes and all this kind of stuff. And I think with like the Architect Tours that, has really helped us boost our channel, I don't care about the time anymore. At the beginning, the idea was these were like 10-minute tours of the office, and then there'd be like the kind of podcasting where we sit down and talk to the person. But, now I just do an hour long, and it's like there's loads of valuable content out there. If you just watch this part, fine. If you watch the whole part, fine. We chapter it up, but I don't know. I'm kind of on your side of like, here's it all. Like enjoy the parts, or just take the pieces you want. And I think that's it's slightly a growing trend, actually.
Yeah, because I was contemplating, should I go on TikTok to get, grow the channel even more, to cut down my courses into this kind of bite-sized bits and then just get people in it. And no, I personally hate TikTok. I think it's brain rot and cancerous, right? Like all short form content for me, like anything below 1 minute is throwaway content. It's junk food. So then I decided against it, and and let me clarify. Junk food in terms of education, in terms of architectural or design based education, you can't convey an idea in less than a minute. It's going to be super shallow if you do, right? So I'm hanging on this kind of a short versus long form content, a little bit too long, but that has been a inner struggle ever since that asshole comment.
And that actually brings us to a similar conversation we were having with Stephen and Oliver, which was like, maybe we'll talk about the AEC space on YouTube, but like, yeah, what do you think of other platforms? Because I like you say, I do kind of struggle sometimes. We are trying to kind of spin the plates of doing bits and bobs of all of it with ATN. Like we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube are our main platforms. The one I most enjoy is YouTube because I feel like the more you put into it, the more you get back. Second is LinkedIn. Actually, that's probably one of the most valuable platforms I have online for ATN, for Facet, and all these other things that I'm doing. But the shorter format like Instagram, TikTok, I haven't spent a lot of time on. I understand the benefit of them, but I struggle with, like, it's just so hungry for content, and if you're not posting literally every day, it's almost like a snail's pace of growth.
Yeah, exactly. Like all of those platforms that you've listed, except LinkedIn, they require daily uploads, and what kind of a human can generate stuff that is worth watching daily? It's impossible, right? So then you struggle with. I struggle as well with Instagram. I gave up. I just upload whenever, right? And usually I just upload these days just personal stuff. Oh, I went to Japan. Here's a picture of a deer, But LinkedIn is a little bit different because in LinkedIn it seems like the content that you share or upload or reshare, the lifespan of it is a little bit longer, and people tend to kind of dig it out, right? And it gets revitalized and so on. I'm not sure. Probably algorithms, that they use or something like that. But LinkedIn is indeed a little bit different. And for me, the main growth of the YouTube channel comes from YouTube, right? You just, as you said, put in the effort, and the effort shows in the metrics, right? And just you create a nice tutorial and people like the tutorial, people subscribe. Easy as that. In terms of LinkedIn, I think for me, LinkedIn is a way of how to test the waters in terms of some sort of a type of content or a question that I might have or anything like that, right? I don't treat it as a means to create a following, right? But much more of what do people think type of a thing.
That's interesting. That's exactly what Stephen Oliver said. Similar things, like they use reels or shorts to test what they think could be a cool video. So that's interesting that you've kind of also honed onto that. What's your thought on the AEC space on YouTube specifically? Because I think, and part of the reason why I really wanted to get you on and some other YouTubers is I think it's somewhat underrated. Like, it's still a bit of a niche. There are lots of, like, there's a good amount of solid YouTubers like yourself, Oliver, Stephen, and you got Demi Lee and 30 by 40 and all this kind of stuff. But I still don't really see it being taken as seriously on the design side, and also like for architecture practices. I don't see a lot of people using it. Like, what's your thought on the AEC space on YouTube?
Well, you need to look into architecture itself as a field compared to, engineering. Because if you look at engineering portion of YouTube, it's huge, right? You have all of these crazy engineers like Michael Reeves, doing like robot dogs that piss beer, and then you have some really professional professional engineers like Stuff Made Here that does crazy like intricate designs of engineering. But when you compare that to the field of architecture, the lifespan of a project or the project itself is so much shorter. Even these huge engineering, like robotics projects, like they do it in 6 months, 4 months, something like that. A building from start to finish, I've started, as I mentioned before, the YouTube series that I've done, architecture from start to finish. I've started recording before COVID, right? And now we're at the last episode. Right. So that just requires, for you to plan ahead in these huge time spans. And I feel like anyone who is, trying to build a YouTube channel, for anyone who's trying to build a YouTube channel, that's a little bit tricky to do because you want the following now. You don't want the following, or you don't want the material to accumulate over the course of like 7 years. You want it, fast. And there's not a lot of architecture companies that had, that many projects that they can do so many series that they constantly show. Yeah. So it's a volume issue for sure.
Yeah, I think that's again, the guys raised the same point. I think there's something maybe. Do you think there's a model where it's not only around real projects, but maybe it's a place for you to create ideas specifically to put out there and then attract? And the guys were talking about, there's some young YouTubers sort of doing that, and I think you kind of fall into that category. I'm not sure if you've had any clients that come through your videos on YouTube, but I feel like there could be a bit more of a way to sell the story of a product through YouTube, right? Most architecture or AEC stuff is probably like us. We're educating, but there's not many people using it as a way to test designs or put ideas out there as much as I would think there should be, if that makes sense.
Well, the problem with that is with people or clients coming in through YouTube, is the demographics, right, of the viewership. Most of our clients are 50 plus years old. They're because they have accumulated funds to actually afford a house in this freaking economy. And they don't really watch YouTube. So most of the clients that we get come from, it's not advertisements, but once we actually design a building and, it's built and so on, then we have some local TV stations that film there and, create like a, I don't know how you call it in English, but yeah, just a TV show about construction. And then that TV show is run at, I think, 6:30 o'clock in the morning. So all of the old
pretty
folk, before they go to work to their executive positions, they are, just have it in the background, and they go, what was that? I was planning on building a house, and then they watch it. No one, in their 50s in the morning turns on YouTube and goes like, yeah, I'll hire these guys, But for now, a new generation is growing, right? And I think what I'm saying right now will not age well. I think it's going to change quite dramatically in the next 10 years or so.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because I am running this experiment right now
Mm-hmm.
because I left Big about a year ago, well, half a year ago. I've joined a company called Facet Homes, and we build houses, right? We build sustainable houses using digital manufacturing. And the current business, we are a B2C company. We build houses for individuals. And so one of the ways that we market it, right? We market it on Instagram and all these different platforms. And I looked at my parents, and they have just, they're exactly the clients we look for. They've just retired, they've just sold the house, they just bought another one down in the countryside. And I was like, Instagram, yeah, maybe my parents have Instagram, but they don't really use it. Facebook, yeah, sort of, but no. But then my dad will sit on YouTube all night and just look up
Really?
rowing videos and sailing videos. And so I do think there's maybe the kind of older generation of YouTube that YouTube is becoming like the new TV, and I think that is slowly creeping up the generations. So I do think, like what you're saying, that the times are maybe changing with that one. But
Mm-hmm.
we have now created a Facet Homes YouTube channel, and we'll see if it moves the dial. We're in the baby stages of just getting some stuff out there, but
I think I might have a thing to add for this as well. You said it's creeping up a little bit through generations. I think it's also creeping a little bit from west to east. Because
yeah,
what we're talking about, or at least what I'm talking about, is we most of the stuff that we build is in Lithuania, right? So the Baltic region, which I think like my parents' generation, they do watch YouTube, but it's mostly, sharing cute animal videos, with
yeah,
the aunt or aunt with the aunt or
yeah, yeah,
something like that, right? But it's never YouTube is never watched for the purpose of either education or information, right? But if you just subtract 10 years from the age of my parents, or maybe let's go for 20, a safe bet, then YouTube is used for everything, right? So that's why I'm giving it, like, at least for the Baltic region, for that slice through Europe, I'm giving it 10 more years and things are going to change.
No, it of course would differ for different parts of the world for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I definitely want to encourage more people to get onto the YouTube bandwagon, and I think it's still. Would you agree it's still a great time to get onto the YouTube space, particularly
Yes.
in the AEC space? Like, there's still a lot of opportunity there.
Absolutely. It's such a vacuum right now in terms of content, right? Because when you already listed Amy Lee and 4070 and so on. I don't think 4070 has uploaded a video in like half a year.
Yeah, for a while.
So there is definitely a vacuum of content. The only thing is that, for example, Dami Lee, in terms of information, handing out information, has set the bar pretty high. So it, if you're jumping into it, be prepared to really put an effort into every video that you do, or find a niche. Finding a niche is also quite important. And I keep repeating the same thing, but since it's a vacuum, finding a niche is pretty damn easy for now.
Yeah. Yeah. On your journey of being a YouTuber, was there any, now I know it's not all about how big your channel is and subscribers and followers and all that kind of stuff, but was there a particular milestone that was, a huge one for you, like the 1,000, the 10,000, the 50,000? And I know you're close to the 100,000. You get your little plaque.
It's gonna be here.
Yeah, hang it on the wall.
Already has a place.
Make it into a chain,
Yeah, just carry it around. Show it to my mom. I told you. You didn't believe me. Was there a milestone? or huge break. I wouldn't say so. I don't really look at the number as much, but I guess the first paycheck that I got from YouTube, that was I think like $5 or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, out of nowhere, just for the stuff that I love doing? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. So I think that was just a realization that stuff that I really enjoy doing is just, teaching and blabbing and talking. And of course, Lund University and me working in Lund University completely fills that void, completely fulfills me. But in terms of just me sitting down, one-man army, by the computer and then not even doing some sort of a course, but just whatever I want to do, whatever I think is cool, modeling a freaking robot, right? And then YouTube just going, yeah, people like it. Here's $5.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That I loved. Right. That idea of it I really enjoyed.
And now you have your iconic robot, which you have on your t-shirt, right? Is that your...
Well, it's not. Yeah, it is. It's. I didn't purposely wear the merch to this podcast. I'm actually. I'm currently working on a big project, so I don't really remember the last time I changed my clothes. It's just the way I work. I sit down and get completely consumed by a project until it's done.
Yeah. One other, that's a good way to work, That's when shit happens, is when you go into that. I call it basement mode, right? You go down into the basement, you do some stuff and emerge.
Yeah, but then you're a grown up and you do need to go grocery shopping and you have a cat that needs to be fed and so on.
All the life stuff, yeah. Maybe we'll jump onto the discussion around AI and stuff, but I want to just close out the YouTubey stuff with like more of the business side, actually, to open people's eyes up to, you've obviously gone down the kind of freemium model where you have these, like, you put a lot of effort into these things and you're giving out all these courses and it's free, right? And of course you get revenue back in the views and stuff like that. Versus, like, for example, we do sort of a blend where we have courses, people pay for them. We have free stuff, we have paid stuff, right? Have you thought about, like, what are the pros and cons of the freemium versus the paid model? Like, was that a conscious thing, or you just kind of like put it out there and it just kind of organically happened?
I guess that, okay, even before I started working for the university, I had the mindset of all baseline education should be free. Or knowledge. I guess all baseline knowledge should be free. The access to it, right? To the factual information. And it will be either way. Once AI puts its roots in there, it if you want it or not, it is going to be free, right? And accessible to everyone. And what cannot or shouldn't be free is the service aspect of it. Right, the hand holding of the person, the guidance of a person, because then it's basically per hour. Then you're charging hourly, right? Because the hand holding and you tailoring yourself to the student, that is, right, that chips away at you, and that has to have a price. Right? So at least that has been my philosophy from the start. And then I looked at, how much time do I spend on these videos? Okay, that's X amount. Okay, how much of it can I use in training our employees at very good architecture company. I can use like every 10th video can be used for training the employees. Okay, how much of it can be used to teach students in Lund University? Okay, like 1/5. Okay, so then when I find overlaps, I can make the product cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, because suddenly my time is being spent on three things all at once, right? So it multiplies, right? So eventually I ended up with okay, I don't really need to charge for the courses at all. The viewership ad revenue pays for it. To put it out there, the ad revenue is garbage for educational channels. just to let everyone know, it's much better if you're charismatic and you're doing projects rather than you teach. But anyway, that's besides the point, I guess. But basically, then I just figured out, okay, I can do this for free actually. And then how do I get equipment though? How do I get the 3D printer and how do I get that? Yeah. Well, I can create a Patreon page, and then through the Patreon page, I can sell the 3D models that I create, or anything that is created from the channel, can be sold for $10. That's the price. Yeah. That's as easy as that. And that seems to work. For now, at least, that seems to work quite well.
Yeah, it's a nice model, and it's a good way to kind of grow as well, like quite quickly. What about sponsorships? Have you done many sponsorships with the channel before, or not yet?
Right, sponsorships have become a part of the channel last year or so. Yeah. I think sponsors look at, like, they have some sort of a magical filter button, like 50,000 subscribers. Because that is when the sponsorship started, like the sponsors started looking into the channel. The thing is that in terms of sponsorships, I am quite selective of who I prefer the channel to be sponsored by. And if a product or a service is something that is, I just find it to be trash, I just don't get sponsored by it. Or in one case that I probably should not voice out verbally, but in one case I actually declined the sponsorship and then did the review of the product either way on the YouTube channel.
That's a good model, because then it's more, you're doing it because you want to do it,
Yeah, well, I did it because I wanted to show how shit it is.
I like it.
But besides that, I mean, yes, sponsorships have become a part of the channel. I would say less than 10% of the revenue of the channel is sponsorships. It's, I mean, mostly it's Patreon. Let's be frank about it.
Well, if anyone's listening, go check out your Patreon, because I think it's really good to discuss this, to let people know what are the revenue streams from YouTube, and how can you make money doing this and support yourself. It's always a balance for me, I think, of you want to give stuff for free, but then you also don't want to perpetuate architects working for free and you or I just slaving away and putting stuff out there, and there isn't some kind of revenue coming back. So I think it's really great that you're kind of open to talk about where revenue streams come from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that the money whole theme about money and being shush about it is unnecessary. Like the shush part is unnecessary, right? It's good to talk about it, and it's good to figure out the best way to do it, I guess, for everyone, for the people who are watching and the person who is creating content that is watched.
Yeah. I know we've touched on it a couple of times, but let's jump into the world of AI, and I guess you can talk about it from both sides of the coin, like AI in the world of YouTube and content creation and all that kind of stuff, but also in the AEC space and like experimenting with AI, how you've seen it influence the design or the process side. Like, yeah, what's your view on AI right now?
Damn, how much time do you have?
Yeah.
I mean, where do I? Okay. AI has become a no-no word a little bit in lately in last few months. Sorry. I feel like it is getting a similar treatment to the not ETFs. Sorry, I'm blanking out on the word. What was the last big thing that people were doing, like the metaverse and the
metaverse, blockchain,
so,
NFTs.
NFTs, thank you.
NFTs, yeah.
So it is getting the same treatment as NFTs a little bit, but it's not as severe because NFTs attracted a lot of shady practices and AI does not seem to really do it. But the problem right now with AI is that there has been in 2030, it's been a huge jump, in the quality and AI adoption and so on. And 2024 seems like it's the same thing, just being repeated over and over. Oh, by the way, remember, AI can do this in a really cool way. And everyone's like, yeah, but we know. But next, come on.
Yeah,
what's next? No, it's gonna be great. I promise. Like in 5 years. Okay, so then call me in 5 years. And it seems like the public opinion of it is like that, and that's one of the things that I tested out with a few thumbnails, a few YouTube videos, a few posts on LinkedIn. It's just going down a bit, or it's going stale, right? So we need another jump in quality or in not quality, but in functionality, I guess, for everyone to get excited again, and it's going to be another resurgence, right?
Do you feel that the part I'm trying to deliberate in my mind is what has it disrupted at the moment? So, for example, obviously the Viz side of things, it has disrupted that because you can now create quite high quality images. Of course, when we're talking about AI right now, we're really just talking about the top of the iceberg of image diffusion and now text to video and all this kind of stuff. But even with that, has the design, have we really evolved design? I would say a little bit. But is the real disruption of it something else, like actually marketing or just speeding up production? We've now streamlined it because we can automate certain things with AI. What's your view? Do you feel like AI has moved the dial in terms of design quality at all at this point, or something else?
I've noticed that now in a lot of companies. Nancy, the administrator, is now also the graphics designer for the company. And the graphics designer has been fired, right? Yeah. And Nancy just types in whatever keywords she wants, and they get their mailing list title page or whatever, right? Done. So that part has been really disrupted for sure, right? Game development. Definitely, simple asset creation, like all junior level positions in terms of game developers have been axed quite a bit by the administration, the higher ups in terms of AI, because now they can hire one guy and he just does a bunch of prompting and generates the same amount of assets as 10 guys before, which I think in terms of quality, it's a little bit of a problem because still precision in AI is not there yet. So suddenly, if you want, the asset to be a little bit to the left or a little bit more blue, then, well, you're just gonna get a bunch of, completely different assets that are to the left and a little bit more blue, but also they're completely a different thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think in terms of disruption, those are the two fields, the graphics design at a, I don't want to say a lower level, but like in companies that just had a graphics designer that did businessy simple tasks and game developers. In terms of architecture, I still don't see any kind of disruption of architects' work whatsoever. Oh, in terms of YouTube, just I guess I can't, like, YouTubers are very shush about their process and what they do. I have noticed quite a few more AI generated thumbnails. I also, when I don't have a good idea of what kind of thumbnail I would like to use, I also generate thumbnails with AI just to get some ideas in there. But in terms of the content itself, I haven't seen any really like disruptive ones.
Yeah,
at least for now.
It's definitely not as big on YouTube, for example, but we have seen a boom of AI stuff on Instagram. And I think one of the interesting, I'm kind of repeating myself now on many podcasts, but like one of the less talked about things is the idea of these AI images feeding the very hungry algorithms of platforms like Instagram, where it is just a picture or a video or something like that. And suddenly there's now a load of architects that have 100K plus, accounts out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, that's a problem. And I'm also scared a little bit of the training data then, right? Because eventually all of that data is going to be scraped and reused for AI training, right? And the moment that happens, we have the Ouroboros situation, where it just devolves into noise. So we do need to keep generating human-made content to feed the AI gods so that they're happy with us and gives us good cookies, not bad cookies, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. Is like, and some other people have mentioned this as well. Is like, we need to put good architecture stuff out there that's whether it's human made or AI made is not necessarily the point, but it's like there's a lot of rubbish out there now.
yeah, a lot of it. I did a course for Lund University where we actually created, well, we just used Midjourney to generate a bunch of visuals, and students could prompt whatever they want. There was a small task of, the aim for the prompt, but it was free for all, basically. That was the first part of the course, figuring out Midjourney. And the second part of the course, okay, now make it tectonic, now make it stand, make a model out of it, right? And that really highlighted the drawbacks of current, of AI, and also how well is it able to hide those drawbacks, through the pretty visuals and then aesthetic compositions and so on. So I'm scared that what we call good architecture, a random person on the internet who has not been trained whose eyes have not been trained, will not be able to discern it and might just see a pretty picture and think that, oh, that is that is good architecture. And that kind of aim towards visuals is I don't like that. I think that is a little bit of a dangerous part.
That actually brings me kind of back to the point of architects being more on YouTube, because in order to, you now have to educate a little bit and maybe explain behind the products a little bit, which means you either do that in 1 minute, which is hard, or you come onto YouTube and You can explain that in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long you want. And as long as it's engaging, I think people would engage with it. Like I look at all these reality TV shows. I mean, there's some on like companies that make gravel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like surely. And there's one thing, I've never met anyone that said like, "Oh, you're an architect. Oh, that must be boring." People
Mm-hmm.
always like, "That's so cool." Like,
yeah, that's so cool. You must be paid so much.
yeah.
You
I
must
said,
earn so much.
I said the first part is true. The second part,
yeah. yeah. Second part, well, the person who did the floor got paid more.
the laborers.
Yeah, but it's I do think that it's one way of how to fight it. I guess the noise that AI generates is by all of us holding hands and singing the same tune, on YouTube, of good architecture. And of course, there's much more ways of how to do it, but definitely this is one of them. And I really wish that more people did that. But at the same time, I understand why do companies or individuals steer away from YouTube. It's we talked about the scope of things or the time frame, but it's also just generally when you are a practicing architect, time is not a thing that you have a lot of, right? So suddenly just also trying to fit YouTube without any foreseeable benefits, immediate benefits, I should say, that really requires a lot of commitment, right, from the person.
It's a marathon once you start a YouTube channel.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so yeah, I do get that. What about we've talked about kind of AI, but I feel like whilst everyone is FOMOing over AI, actually there was a lot of very cool stuff going on in the world of Unreal, and I think you kind of jumped on that. I saw some of your biggest courses on your channel are around Unreal 5 and some other things, and you seem to be quite interested in the gaming world as well. Talk to us about what's your thoughts on Unreal right now, and like how do you see Unreal maybe affecting the AEC space?
Well, right now it's changing, but for the better. For a while I was depressed because of the threshold. The learning curve of Unreal is pretty gnarly. Once you get into animations or stuff that reacts, game dev basically, game development, I should say. But now I'm over it, and it's everything's good again. I'm happy. It's just my curve. I always fluctuate between I hate it, I love it. Now I hate Grasshopper. I'm gonna love it in like a month or so. So in terms of Unreal, I had two lectures like 3 years ago. One was the evolution of architecture, and a very short form of it would be architecture is a man-made field, and the only way for it to evolve is to attach itself to other man-made fields, or not necessarily man-made, but other fields, and through that junction to find new ways of how it can evolve, right? So architecture attaches to chemistry, and then you get a new kind of a material that you can implement into architecture and thus achieve a different type of a space or a form. Architecture attaches to a philosophical idea or whatever, and it changes, right? So that's the step-based evolution of AI. And then the second lecture that I'm getting to the point. The second lecture that I had was modes of representation of architecture, right? You have the static one, which is static renders, still images, and drawings, right? So it's you put a person in one place, and they look at the scene that you purposely made for them to look at. The second stage or step is the dynamic stage, right? Where you put a person on a roller coaster, right? On tracks, and they can they are still kind of locked in, but they're then moving around the space, and then they can experience it much, much more. So that's animations, right? And the first part can be done with, any rendering software whatsoever. Second one is much more easily done with stuff like Lumion or D5, Twinmotion, these kind of real-time render engines that have real-time capabilities, the animation aspect of it. And then the third, and in my opinion, the most valuable stage is the interactive one, where a person it can just move around, right? And can interact with the space, and preferably with VR headsets and so on. So I started looking into, okay, if this is the highest that we can go in terms of representation of architecture, I should teach it. I should teach it to students in the university. I should teach it to students and online. And I just searched, best VR headset, blah blah blah. Of course, I knew about Unreal before, but that was the moment when I started looking into it much more. And I learned it in I think the first tutorial came out a year after I started going into Unreal, and it was a very simplistic tutorial, but ever since then I just started going deeper and deeper into it. But for me, the most interesting thing from Unreal is the unlimited ways of how you can represent space and form, and how space and form can react to you, not you just reacting to it. I think that kind of relationship, digital relationship, is quite interesting. Virtual reality still needs to improve quite a bit for it to go mainstream, though, but it's getting there.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Unreal as well. Like, I almost feel, whilst everyone was FOMOing around AI, there was a lot of much better stuff maybe at the time going on in Unreal. I think it was kind of that time I saw a lot on your channel around it, so I feel like you timed that really well.
I tried to because I just saw that, oh crap, they're doing really precise light calculations now in real time. This is great. I mean, this means we can now show an interior to the clients, and they will not feel like we're lying to them. It's an actual light calculation, right? So the representation of the spaces is correct.
Is real.
So that was a big breaking point for Unreal, Lumen and Nanite in particular.
Does that trickle down into the very good architecture practice? Like, do you start using Unreal now that you learn it, or like, how does the practice side trickle into?
It's getting there. It's getting there. It's very hard to teach Unreal, at a professional level. Like, it's much easier if. Or in an office. It's much easier if a person learns Unreal during their education rather than in an office while they also need to do, all of the technical part of the project, and there's multiple projects, they have site visits, clients come in and so on. And then on top of that, oh, by the way, learn Unreal and optimizations for virtual reality. So it's pretty rough. So we do have plans on how to bring it to the office. For now, I'm basically, in terms of testing it out and testing if it works and if we have the capabilities to actually invite the client and show them the VR model. This summer, I finished with the tests, and it is possible, it's doable, both in terms of what we model and also in terms of what we 3D scan with photogrammetry, right, for them to walk around the site or whatever. So now I guess my answer will be yes, absolutely, we use Unreal in a year or so. So it is going to be a transitionary period. Words.
Yeah, nailed it. Tell us the story then of the name Very Good Architecture Practice, where I mean, I can sort of understand it, but
have you seen like Parks and Recreation? The TV show.
Do you know what? Everyone recommends it to me. That's one of the few really good comedies I haven't watched that much.
It's a good one. You should. It's a really good one. And one of our favorite, me and my wife's. My wife is a co-founder of the Very Good Architecture company, and honestly, she's the main. She's the boss of the whole operation. I'm much more of a teacher, YouTuber. Sometimes I go to the office and wave at people, kind of a figure there, and only help out when it's all hands on deck kind of a situation with projects.
Right.
So we were watching this TV show, Parks and Recreation, and there was the Very Good Construction company made by Ron Swanson, and we were like that was the best. The best pitch of it was that, it's a simple title. It immediately gives you the sense of the quality of the service that is, what kind of service it is, and the quality that is produced. It's not perfect, it's not mediocre, it's very good, right?
Yeah.
So we really, really enjoyed that, because in the day and age of these pompastic names or abbreviations that don't really mean much, just naming your company Very Good Architecture company, hey, why not? To be just straightforward is a way of how you can stand out these days, I guess.
Yeah, no, I like it because I've also been I've got a game now because with our new job we're working with a lot of other architects, right? And so I just ended up being on a lot of architects' websites, and I literally have a game now and try and find an architect that doesn't in their bio have an award-winning architecture practice. Like, it's impossible to find not an award-winning architect. So,
it's very easy to get awards these days, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. And when you dig into the awards, it's like, it's a fairly obscure thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe they won something at university or whatever, but
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that kind of a medal. I don't even know how to call it, but like winner, everyone's winning all the time, winning. I mean, it's a little bit on the nose, I think, in terms of how much every architecture company is award winning.
Yeah.
We just provide a service, man. The buildings are good. Some might say very good. Huh?
Yeah. I like it. All right, maybe to wrap up the podcast, we'll do a couple more questions. Firstly, for anyone that's, a young architect or, doesn't have to be a young architect, actually, an architect interested in getting onto the world of YouTube and, this kind of thing, what would be your advice for someone starting out?
Microphone.
Microphone.
Absolutely. Like, the camera doesn't matter. Just use your phone. Invest in a microphone, because that is the main thing why people click out of the video, is if your audio is nasty. If it's a little bit off, people don't like it, and it's a pet peeve of many. Second thing is definitely don't be afraid of long format content.
Yeah.
Instead, think of what kind of value does it give, right? So if it is long form, it shouldn't be long form because you're just silently sitting there and just watching the camera. What kind of things do you add with it being long form, and try to catch all of the moments when people would click out, right? So if it's something that maybe a pause was too long, edit it out. Easy as that. But if a pause was long because you were thinking about it and you wanted to show that you were thinking about it, to choose your words correctly or something like that, then keep it in, right? So I guess pacing, right? And that's in one word that would be correct pacing of the video. And be prepared that it's not going to be a sprint. as you said, Ollie.
Yeah.
It's going to be a marathon, right? So first few videos, you might not get any clicks whatsoever, right? And that's okay, right? Because if you're doing it for the clicks, you will not survive the marathon. You just need to start liking the recording aspect of it and documenting. Think of it as documenting your either design or your whatever it is that you do, documenting it in the highest quality that you can at the moment with a good microphone.
Yeah.
So that's I guess for a beginner, that's a suggestion. And everything else is that just comes naturally by adjusting to you watching your own videos and seeing where you messed up. And you will be forced to, because you will most likely edit your own videos, right?
Yeah.
So just figuring out, I will do this a little bit differently. I'll speed up this part. I'll slow down this part next time, and so on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's some great points there, I think. Yeah, for sure. It's a marathon. There's no doubt about that.
and you need to love it.
Yeah. Lastly, the question we always ask people is like, what's exciting you on the horizon? Is there something in the world of AI, Unreal, digital fabrication, something else? Like, is there something that's really getting you excited?
In terms of that, I feel like it's right now we're in this kind of breather type of Actually, there's two things. I'll talk about both. First thing is that we're in this breathing space or toned down space, toned down time frame where AI is not as loud anymore, and something new will probably come up, and people are looking around as to see what's the next big thing that they should jump onto. So right now it feels like that the air is, at least on YouTube end of it, electric, and everyone is just, what's the next thing, man? I need to do it. So for me, that is super exciting because I don't know. Right. What is going to be the next thing. If I had to, or I can't guess, but I can hope. I hope that it's going to be something manufacturing related. So something that AI will help out with creating patterns for concrete fabrication or 3D printing fabrication or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Something, a joinery of emergent technologies, right? That's my hope, but I might be completely wrong about it. For me, it's the most interesting thing is the not knowing and just anticipating it and waiting for the next wave to come. Yeah. And on a more personal note, I guess what's very exciting for the YouTube channel is, as I mentioned before, I have the second one, which is Get Done. Long story really short, we bought a house in Japan. So an old townhouse in Kyoto, and the second channel will be all about complete renovation of that house. So a new series will start where we're gonna do the 3D scanning of it, and I'll explain the whole process of how you can buy a house in Japan and so on, right? So it's going to be a whole process of not architecture from start to finish, but I guess architecture renovation from start to finish with a little bit of Japanese sprinkled sprinkled in there. So that's this was in the making for like 5 years or so, and finally we're here. I pulled the trigger this summer, and and now a new project is born.
I'll have to put the link in the description below to your channel, and this other channel's live, right? You mentioned it before.
Yeah, it's live. It's going to be, of course, reconstructed once the videos start coming out, and the plan is to have the first Japan house video come out September.
Okay.
So actually, oh man, I need to start working on it.
Yeah. It's September 1st today.
Yeah. Yep. So I really need to start working on it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be rushed though. Trust me. High quality stuff always.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to have you for the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
We'll put in all your links. If people want to get in touch with you, where's the best place? Is it like LinkedIn and
LinkedIn,
where's the best
for sure.
place? Yeah, LinkedIn.
Because Instagram, I'm a boomer. I don't messages get lost. There's like 3 different filtering things. I LinkedIn or Patreon, I guess. But if you don't want to, like technically, if you pay $1 on Patreon, then Discord server, and then you get me online in real time. LinkedIn is much more of a message by message based stuff.
There you go. That sounds like a pretty good dollar spent. So go check that out, guys. I'll put that in the link below. But yeah, thank you so much for having us. Thank you guys for joining. We'll be back in next month. I think, Gediminas, we're gonna either go YouTube or we're gonna try and get some VCs and talk about investing and all this kind of stuff, because I'm currently in this world of raising money and all this kind of stuff. So I think we'll get some VCs on as the next episode.
Do VCs. I'll tune in for sure.
Okay, there you go. I have you. That's all we need. All right. Well, thank you, Gediminas, for joining, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.